Welcome to the Tech M&A Podcast. Presented by the Corum Group. Welcome to the Tech M&A Podcast. Here we dive into the strategies, challenges, and candid stories of tech entrepreneurs who have successfully sold their companies. Today we are talking to Robin Fisk, co-founder and CEO of Donorfy, a SaaS CRM solution designed for non-profits and charities. After more than a decade of helping organisations manage donors, volunteers and fundraising through a modern cloud-based platform, in 2024 Robin successfully completed the sale of Donorfy to the Access Group, a leading provider of business software solutions. Let's begin. Robin, thank you for joining us. Please share a bit about yourself and your company.
Sure, yeah. Well, thanks for having me. It's nice to be here today. So our company was called Donorfy. Donorfy is a specialist CRM solution for non-profits and charities that do fundraising. Any non-profit of a certain size needs a CRM just like a company does to keep track of all of your donors and members. And they have some specific needs as well. So we filled that particular need for that space, the non-profit space. And we work with about 1,000 charities across the UK and in Scandinavia using our product. Donorfy is the name of the product and the company. And it's in terms of what the product is, it's a software as a service, cloud-based CRM solution. It handles all the things like donation processing and volunteer management that the charities and non-profits need as well. And we founded the business in 2014, so just over 10 years ago now, by my co-founder and me. This is actually our second exit. We had a business before that as well in the same space. So we have a similar kind of offer, but it was on the on-premise model of software rather than cloud. And we exited that in 2008 to a company in the US, and we went to work with them for a number of years after that. But we conceptualized the idea of Donorfy and launched it in 2014, just over 10 years ago. So we wanted to build it with all of the kind of benefits that you get in SaaS online products, like self-service for setting up a trial and buying the product if you like it. We also had a sales team if it was a bigger deal.
Yeah.
We were a bootstrapped company, so no external investment coming through. We started with just our own cash and grew the business as we were able to. We reached about 30 people when we sold the business. So we had a team of 30, fully remote across the UK and in Scandinavia. We were acquired last year by a company called the Access Group in November 2024, following a 4-month process of from LOI through to completion.
4 months sounds like a quick process. Why did you go through the M&A process? Was there a specific motivation?
Yeah, they were. So I mean, when I say 4 months, there was preparation before the 4 months, but it kind of got started with LOI from the eventual buyer and through to completion in 4 months. But yeah, a lot of hard work and many months before that to prepare ourselves for it. So why did we go through it? I think the specific reason is time. Time had passed. We are at a certain age in our life stage as founders, and we knew we were going to want to retire one of these days, whenever that was. So setting up a business in 2014, we knew then that as we built that business, everything about it was going to lead to an eventual M&A transaction. So I guess knowing that that's what you're heading for in 10 years informs many of your choices about what you do and how you do it.
So you had a clear objective when you founded the company. And as you said, the previous exit experience was very helpful and you knew what to do. So how did you learn about Corum and why did you ultimately choose them?
We recognized really that we did need some help because we had a business to run in the meantime.
Right.
And we needed someone to help us hold our nerve in conversations with a buyer. Because for us, it's our personal business, it's our personal money almost, as talking about it to a buyer, but to an advisor, it's, I'm not saying it's just another deal, but it's something that they're a little bit detached from and gives us a bit of third-party credibility when we're in conversations with other people. So yeah, through the process of building Donorfy over 10 years, we were listening to the podcasts, to the various stories about people exiting their companies. We knew that these advisors existed. So when we got to the point when we were ready, we started to do some research and quickly discounted the idea of doing it ourselves because that would be probably foolish given the stage we'd got to. But we found that not all the advisors were equal. There was some who would take us into their process. It almost felt like you were being processed by their system. As a company, they come out with a pretty rapid valuation, which may not be quite where you wanted it to be. They profess to get you there in 90 days, and this value in 90 days, deal done, and you kind of feel like you maybe haven't achieved the best result possible. That was our feeling anyway, by working with one of those organizations. The meeting that probably clinched it for us, where he was explaining a bit about the process of selling through Corum and the experience that they have and that they bring to bear in that whole process. So we like the fact that he was a CEO, Richard was a former CEO himself, and had sold his business, and that all of the deal makers within Corum from a similar kind of background. So that reassured us.
Thanks for sharing, Robin. Selling a company is challenging. What about the process was the most difficult for you personally and for the company?
I think the hardest thing for me, because we're quite a group of 30 people, we knew each other really well, we were quite close, even though we were remote, quite a close company. And keeping it a secret was awful. It's just that process of just keeping it quiet because you know that you want to talk to people about it and be open, but it would be a major distraction and it may not happen. So you go through all this process of informing people, and the more people you inform, you have to keep up to date. So we had to keep it a secret. We had a small management team, and 6 of us, including the 2 founders, where we did have to, because we relied on them to go and fetch information, and in the due diligence process, they had to, we had to lean on them a bit for info and data. But yeah, everyone else, we couldn't say anything to. So that was the hardest thing, just to not let the cat out of the bag during that time. And the process, even though I sort of talk about this 4-month process, that was actually the second buyer. Running a business while you're trying to sell a business, you've really got to compartmentalize your head so that you have the right conversations with the right people. And, you kind of feel like you're giving the game away sometimes, but you're not. It's just your paranoia about not saying the right thing or the wrong thing to the wrong people. I think then getting into the process, I think due diligence, we always knew due diligence is going to be tough. And the buyer that we went with, which we're really happy that we went with, they threw everything at due diligence. And, we're pretty well prepared, I thought, but it's going to be hard. Anything, that is worth doing like that is going to be tough. So no surprises.
We actually hear that a lot. It's definitely challenging. As you know, an M&A transaction does not necessarily go by the book, Robin. Were you surprised by any of the steps in the process, and why?
I was surprised by how quickly we got LOIs out of people. That was nice. I thought the hardest bit would be to get offers, but actually the offer happens quite early on in the process, and then it's you choose one, and then you go through the whole, the tough bit. So it was quite nice to see that people, given the information we had provided, would value our business to be X or Y. And we thought, wow, that's the hard bit, getting a number out of people. So that was interesting.
Thanks, Robin. Was there anything non-negotiable that you knew in advance when considering your transaction?
Yeah, I suppose things that we learned last time and didn't want to repeat this time would be to, we worked for the company that bought us last time. So us founders, we stayed on and worked, rightly so, because we were younger then, and that's what we wanted to do. But we didn't really have a focus. It was a bit hard to know what to do with us, I think, from their point of view. But that wasn't going to happen this time because one of our non-negotiables going in this time was we wanted to retire. So we didn't want to hang around for earnouts for 2 years, 3 years, whatever. Which seemed fairly unrealistic, depending upon what kind of buyer we got. Now, the buyers, the financial buyers, the private equity firms, that sort of buyer, want to see us stay on because it's a numbers game for them. They want us to grow using their playbook after the transaction. So really, a financial buyer was never really going to be right for us. We needed a strategic buyer who wanted what we had built and wanted to take it on and run it themselves. So we were looking for a strategic buyer who didn't want any earnouts. We wanted conditions for the staff that were no worse than working for us. So, the same pension arrangements or better, same amount of leave and all those things. The next buyer came along and we knew them already. They were a competitor to us. So they were clearly a strategic buyer. They wanted the thing that had been beating them in previous years. And that's what they got when they bought us. Now, I think if you know why you're doing it, other things just slot into place, other decisions, or, it's very easy then to reject somebody based upon that because it doesn't fit what you want. So I think, Corum, Richard Harris, our advisor, dealmaker at Corum, he was well aware of these requirements when we started working together. And the fact that it hadn't scared him was encouraging to us. He thought, someone will want to buy you, even with those terms. So that was encouraging.
How did you balance running the company and getting things done during due diligence? And how did you balance all of that with your personal life?
I thought we were pretty well set up. And the buyer thought that we were as well, but just the sheer amount of time. You get a lot of energy because you know what the goal is. And in the team of 6 of us who were, we were in on the secret, we all were motivated, that we made it worth their while to be part of that process. So they were rewarded for it. But there's a lot of hard work, just finding data and responding, and you kind of feel that you have to give really quality responses as well, because the last thing you want is for the buyer to begin to have doubts about what it is that you're selling, because that'll be reflected maybe in the price or the structure of the deal, or they might back out altogether. So uncertainty.
Sounds like a lot of pressure during a challenging period. Robin, did you ever have doubts during the process, and why?
Yeah, I think so. There was a part in the process where we'd done our prep, we'd done our pitch deck practice with the big group, and we were ready to go to market. And we found a buyer quickly, a buyer that seemed to sort of check all the right boxes for us. And we started a process. We went into LOI with them and started a process. And for reasons that I suppose I didn't fully understand at the time, or still don't fully understand, they decided, as they can, to pull out of the process at any time. There's no guarantee that when you get that stage that it's going to complete any time. And they did. They pulled out. And that was a bit surprising, but also made us think, well, it's taken this much work to get this far. We thought we had the right one. Are we going to find the next right one? Corum were quite patient. They have a piece in their process where you, I forget what the word is now, but if nothing sort of momentous happens in the first 6 months or so, then you go on to this sort of care and maintenance. And we're preparing to go on to that kind of tick over type of existence with them for a while, and maybe revisit a year later or whatever. But our second buyer then came out of the woodwork and kind of felt that they'd missed the boat. They were interested in us beforehand, informally, before the M&A process. We got in touch with them and they turned out to be the one. So that was nice. But we didn't know that until that happened.
I'm glad to hear that you had a transaction that left you feeling good. Robin, having gone through the process yourself, what advice would you give to others thinking about going through a tech merger or acquisition?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess I would say be patient. there will be ups and downs in the process. So it's it's a roller coaster that you have to be prepared to stick with for a while. It's a bit of a journey. So be patient, I think, is probably number one in that. Presenting well, so making sure you only really have one opportunity with a buyer to get your story over and to set the expectation about how good your business is and to follow through with that. So just make sure that you've made your business into the right shape and, make it, give it all the right characteristics for someone to love rather than make it hard for them to love it. That starts well before you go into the M&A process. So dress your business up for sale, not in a superficial way, but make sure it's easy to understand. If you got an awkward customer on a special price with a weird contract, then at least be sure where that documentation is, and not be something that they have to discover for themselves later on. So present well, be patient. I think maybe another one is that, or the third one I would say is that you don't have to be fluent in the language of M&A, but it helps to know a little bit about it. So growing your business, you'll know all about, recurring revenue and EBITDA profit and various metrics by which you run your business and processes. But the processes and the metrics around M&A are a bit of a steep learning curve. And your advisor, your deal maker will protect you from some of that, but you still have to understand what they're saying to the customer, to the buyer. So just get a little bit familiar. The way I did it, I just listened to podcasts mainly, and I built up a sort of knowledge based upon what I'd heard people talking about and looking things up, just checking my understanding of what the various acronyms meant. But understand what's happening.
The audience appreciates your insights. Tell us, how's life looking now after the deal? Is it any different?
Yeah, good question. One thing that surprised me a bit is that it's a bit of a healing process once you've sold your business, because your business is your baby in a way. You build it and there's things about it that only you know. And you wake up every day or whatever thinking about it and you care about it. So to not have that anymore once you've passed it over to someone else takes a little bit of getting used to, in my experience anyway. So I suppose I've been in a bit of a process of trying to learn to live without it. I'm no longer checking the website every day to see if it's changed or not or anything like that. I've got past that stage, but I'm interested, but I'm no longer involved. So that's a distinction you have to remember. It's not yours anymore. So if something bad happens to it or they make the wrong decision, heaven forbid, then those things, it's not your problem anymore. I'm quite interested in, helping a business get itself ready for the transaction. I don't want to be a deal maker, but I'm quite interested in understanding, where founders want to get to and maybe help them set their business up for the next step. And then, got some traveling in the diary. So I'm going to go and see some of the world, apart from my home office here. So it'd be nice to get out and see what's going on.
Robin, thanks a lot for sharing your story and insights. We appreciate your time.
Great. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Thank you for tuning in to the Tech M&A Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with your friends, colleagues, and fellow entrepreneurs. We release new episodes every 2 weeks, so make sure to subscribe and stay up to date on our latest interviews and tech M&A research. And while you're there, go ahead and drop us a rate and review. And if you have any suggestions or topics you'd like us to cover, please reach out to us on social media or email us at info@corumgroup.com. Join us again next time for more inspirational stories and practical tips from tech founders who have successfully navigated the exits of their companies.